Hello, good morning. This is Saili Karekar. Welcome to Conversations with Jewel. Good morning, Jewel. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Siley. Thank you so much. And I'm so glad that we're having this interaction today.
Yep, it's all my pleasure. So, getting so much from it. So,
Thank you.
Jewel, today I want to talk about something extremely important topic. Uh, Throughout our conversations, we've been talking about the way to shift consciousness is by repairing our brakes. And that's the most important work that we have to do in order to rise. So, I want to understand more in detail how we actually repair our brakes. And to start with, I would like to ask what really brake is and why are you calling it a brake?
Beautiful. The break is the separation between us and the unlimitedness that we are. We create out of our minds. So we learn specific aspects of living. So we learn that becomes the mind. Well, that isn't necessarily aligned with the unlimitedness that we are. So what happens is we disconnect from the pure joy and the pure love so that we live in the midst of often unrest,
Yeah.
lack, relationship discord, and on and on. Well, we create that. We create it for one reason, because we have an incredible capacity, which is the infallible way. We have the capacity to create the experiences so that we can identify everything that we create. There's nothing left out.
So, are we saying that any feeling that we have which takes us away from our feeling of wholeness and connectedness is a break?
Correct. Let's consider for an instant, aligned with truth, we are whole, and we align with abundance. Okay? So, if an individual is feeling frustrated because of lack, that means that they have become a victim of their own experiences of lack.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
So, in order to fix that, what we need to do is transform the energy of resistance to unlimitedness. And we do that through love. So if we walk through the experience, first thing is we need to identify the feelings that we have. They're very important because they're part of the consciousness projection that creates our experience. So if you're feeling the anxiety, or if you're feeling frustrated, don't fight it. Let it unfold. If you unmask it, let it reveal, because
Okay,
that's
just
very
gonna stop you
necessary.
here. I think the best way to understand this would be from an example. So let's take a break. Like,
Okay.
for example, I had a break where I felt bad when somebody said that I'm not good enough. Okay, so I was feeling, I don't know, maybe worthless. So
Okay.
now, so when I understand that this is what is happening with me, that's when I identified the break.
Wonderful. So, what were you feeling when that experience was presented? So, was it frustration and anger, and you were feeling despicable and all
Yeah,
of the
I
things?
felt like people didn't get me, and then, felt bad that they are trying to say that I'm not good enough, and then also felt not good enough.
Okay. So, what you're doing is you're feeling the anxiety around that experience. So, allow it to become present, okay? Because you're creating it. You even create the role players so that you can identify it. It's not that they are the role players and that's their only job, but they are helping you to see what your projections are. Think about this. You've got a stage of life that you live on, and every single person that comes to you to play a role is helping you to identify the very thing that is holding you in bondage. Okay? So, if somebody is telling you that you're worthless, That's your role player. Identify it. What is your frustration? Let it unfold. Okay? What are the thoughts behind that, Siley? What are the thoughts? That you're worthless?
Yeah, I guess to some level I believe that I am not good enough, and that's probably the reason I created that experience.
Exactly, because all of the projections of state of mind create. That's our experiences. That's what we create. So, thoughts, beliefs, attitudes, any notions that you have, here you are as a victim. Okay?
Yeah,
So, you're in a level of consciousness where you're accepting worthlessness. I mean,
right.
so many people have that experience. Okay? Rejection. It's another big one.
Yeah.
Now, recognize that those thoughts and those feelings are your creation. That's what separates you from your unlimitedness. Once you identify it, what you're doing is you're taking the onus of energy off of that so that you can begin the process of transforming it. You stop and say, wow, I've created that. But aligned with truth, that is not correct. So then what happens is you transform that energy to love.
So basically, I first sit with that feeling. I let that feeling, allow that feeling to feel through me. And then I see that I have created this.
Yes,
The
and then
moment I realize that, then I'm ready to shift the energy of
you
victim or
are.
whatever it is.
Let's keep in mind that in order to do that, you have to be committed, first of all, as you know.
Yeah.
This has to be a commitment. This is not a technique of the mind. A technique of the mind is not going to work. What you have said right from the beginning, I'm committed to realize my truth. That's when these things happen. Now you're looking at what is the feeling, what is the thought. The thought and the feeling together project to create the experiences. So now, that commitment in mind, you're sitting back and saying, I am the creator of a notion that I'm being worthless. Okay? So now you're recognizing that. Look at the creator, the creation of your capacity to create that. Now you recognize, you know what? I am the whole. I'm the creator. That is not my truth. That is stemming from the resistance that keeps me separate from my truth. That's where the term breaks came as it related to my own experience, because I recognized, Siley, that between where I was feeling rejected or lacking, whatever it might have been, was keeping me separate from the unlimitedness. So I needed to repair that in order to move on.
I think what you said just now, it kind of just lighted a bulb in my mind. You
I
said that
saw it.
I
I saw it happening.
am, yeah, you said I am creating this notion of being worthless. I think the moment we say that, the weight of feeling worthless suddenly disappears because I am kind of creating that notion. It's not truth.
Yes, that's
And
right.
when you see it that way, you say, oh, it's just something I've been thinking. It's not truth. And
It's
then
not.
you can remember the truth that you're
And
talking
then,
about.
yes, and what I always found very useful was reaffirming my true potential, reaffirming it. Now, at the beginning, this was merely an understanding that I had. I had not really accepted it immediately, but as you continue, you just keep on keeping on. What happens little by little, you begin to realize that you're transforming that energy. And at the end of every repair, you can feel the love and the freedom. It accelerates. And then you
I think
take the moments to realize that that love is you. It's in you. It is you.
what I have understood from my experiences, as you said, you have to repair that sometimes many times the same break. And initially, it is just intellectual understanding that okay,
Exactly.
this
That's
is
exactly.
illusion and the truth is different. But slowly, slowly, you actually start to feel it, and I
Yes,
guess that's when it shifts.
exactly. You know what? It's pretty interesting because I had a discussion with a lady that has been working with me in connection with her own repairs, and she said to me, you know, I think that I'm all finished with it, and all of a sudden it's back again, but not as significantly hurtful. Now you're recognizing it. Just keep in mind, you've had this in consciousness for a long time. We have. I mean, any of these energies. And now what we're doing is transforming those energies. So if they come back, it's only to clear it up.
Yeah.
You know, it's when you clear it up, then you realize, wow, this is awesome. Because the time will come that there is no indication that there was ever a consciousness projection surrounding worthlessness or rejection or lack. Because you realize I am the whole.
Yeah.
You are it. Then the truth, remember, united with the whole of God. That's what we are. That's our grand potential.
Right. So we might have to repair the same brick many times if it comes back again, but we have to keep working because we are shifting it slowly.
It's shifting slowly. It doesn't happen overnight. And I guess the repair process it's not a magic pill. It doesn't happen overnight, but you're constantly, you think of this when a person is addicted to something like a nicotine,
Yeah.
they will stop smoking, but the desire or the thought of having a cigarette comes back to them over and over again. That's because the mind, if the mind didn't have that realization to show you, we would never be able to fix these things.
Yeah.
So it's stuck there. It's stuck there. But remember, we're not victims unless we allow it to be. And one more thing, this is not a technique.
Right.
The repair of the breaks are steps to enlightenment. That's the way I see them. Because a technique is something that's done of the mind, but this is beyond the mind, because what you're doing is you're transforming that energy to pure love. That's really what's happening.
When you're saying transforming the energy, it's basically shifting our thoughts and feelings both together into actually being a new way of being.
Love. Yeah, because when you reaffirm your true potential, you're realizing that you're united with the whole of God. And that is love. That's the expression of love. Recall your truth. That is love.
And it's a little beyond just having a statement of perspective or a belief. It's much beyond that. That's why.
For this, yes. I mean, when you get to a position where any of the energy that comes to you is spontaneous and intuitive, that makes it very much grander and larger than a belief. A belief is still of the mind.
Yes.
Spontaneous intuition is the truth of all that we are. And that stems from the God self that we are.
One more thing I wanted to talk about is, which always say that the break is something that when we feel bad, like I'm using the terms good and bad, I know it's duality, but that's how the emotions are at present in the mind. But there are also times when we feel very excited and happy about something, but even that could be a break, and those are difficult to find.
Well, yes, and you see, it's because it responds to the emotion, and if it responds to the emotion, and you're looking, and you said it beautifully, Siley, because it's duality. So if you're looking at something as being exciting and good, you're looking at it from the perspective that, wow, look at all of this wonderful stuff that's happening that's still of the mind. I mean, remember, from the mind, we win some and we lose some. But that's the duality that we create. But when we rise above the duality by repairing these breaks, we finally get to a place where through the spontaneous intuition of us, we realize joy always. I mean, I'm excited right now. I'm excited every moment.
Yeah, and that's so different to being excited because of a condition or an event.
Or an event, correct. Because if we're looking for the event external to us, it's outside of us. That means there's separation.
And also, maybe it kind of stems from some kind of lack or a want that I don't have it, so I'm excited
Yes.
when I get it.
Beautiful point, because the want is outside of ourselves.
Yeah.
If we look for something that we want, when we're aligned with truth, we have it all and we have it now. And there is no gain and there is no loss, because we're in the midst of ultimate reality.
I can't imagine how it would be like to be in that state forever.
Well, you're
But
walking,
yes.
you know what? The most beautiful thing I can say to you is you're walking through the experiences. And I keep saying this, just keep walking. It doesn't happen overnight. But with commitment, you will move to unlimitedness. Always.
Right. So just one last thing. So how often and how we should approach this repairing the break? Because we are living our lives normally. So every time it we have to detect it all the time.
Yes, yes. If you have a little notepad and you write down the thoughts and the experiences that you're perceiving, because the perception is what brings it forth through the mind, write it down, because that's exactly what's holding you in bondage. It's keeping you separate from the wholeness. And if you work on that, I did that every moment. There was no time that I stopped. And I did this amid my own experiences. And that's the beauty of it, because if you do it now and you do it always, that's how you're going to repair every break.
It's okay to repair, like think about it later also, right? Once, because sometimes when we are caught up in the experience, we don't realize it, but we can work
Yes,
on it later.
definitely. Yeah, I mean, that's why I think writing it down is the most perfect part of it, because at least you remember, you've got something memorialized. If you don't write it down, it can happen over and over and over again, and then you just forget about it, and the mind just keeps it stuck in the subconscious.
That's right. Until next time we create some
Yes,
experience again.
yes. And then
Okay.
you identify it again. But yeah, I think it's a really good practice, just to continuously write it down, memorialize it some way. Even if you have one of these voice recorders, you can do it that way. But from my perspective, I wrote it.
Yeah, wow, that works for me as well. I
Yes.
think you're able to see your own thoughts and own feelings very clearly when you write it down. Yeah, I think that's vital. Thank you so much, Jule. I think this was extremely important and it's something I've always been working on and I'll keep working on.
And
So
I know
thank you
you
for sharing.
will, and I know you are. And all I could say is just keep walking.
Yep, let's keep walking. Thank you
Yep.
so much. Talk to you
Thank you,
soon.
my love. Talk to you
Bye.
later. Bye bye.
Talk later. Bye bye.